Hello everyone, welcome along for the final time this week to Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. I'm your host Nigel, Seeley. I'm delighted to say joining me is our ATP Tour senior handicapper. It is Sean Calvert. Good afternoon, Sean. How are things? Mixed tournament so far, everything all right? All good?
Yeah, I think it's all good. Just watching Grigor Dimitrov here win the first set 6-4, as predicted, against Zhang from a breakdown as well, incidentally. He dropped his first service game of the match, still managed to win it 6-4. So there you go. Yeah, things are all right. Yeah, I can't complain. I could, but I'd be being picky.
Well, you can complain. You tend to complain, but at the moment, all's good. Well, I just put this top on today. It's the first time, and I've got a resemblance of a bumblebee.
It is.
And I look like I'm blending in with this football behind here.
Is this a theme? Camera, you going for a theme here or something?
No, it's just I didn't have any fresh clothes, so I just picked this one at the top of the wardrobe. We're having carpets done.
Didn't have any fresh clothes. What is this? A student halls of residence or something?
Well, it looks like if I could turn this camera around, I could show you. We've had carpets installed in the house, and there's like you can't hoover them, or you can't put anything down on the carpets, and there's clothes and clutter everywhere. You got to wait for the you can't put anything on the carpet, and you got to wait 48 hours to hoover it for some reason. That's what we were told anyway. So there's clutter everywhere. And this is the only top I could. I was obviously half asleep when I picked it up. It was dark as well, and now I've put it on. I look like the colours of the Bet Rivers logo. Look, the yellow and the blue. They're very similar kind of thing.
It's kind of bumblebee-ish, isn't it? I was thinking Wasps, the rugby team, but I don't know whether they play in that colour or that's just their name or what. I stand to be educated on that because I don't know. But I would have thought if your name's Wasps, you'd be playing in something like that. You would think. Yeah.
It's this ball. You know, no one's ever asked me about this ball. Look, show this ball.
I can barely see it because I can see you on a tiny little thumbnail.
This is.
I can see that.
Blended in me. This is signed by the Brazilian national football team.
Is that right? Which year?
When they were good.
About 1982.
Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Roberto Carlos. That team. That's.
Go on. Where did you get that from?
I bought it. I was in a raffle. We went to a charity dinner years ago at Fulham Football Club, and it was a raffle prize, and I won it. There you go. Because Fulham played that one of those Brazilian sides played in a friendly at Wembley, and the ball was signed by them, and that was the ball.
Nice.
There you go.
Very good players.
Very colour coordinated with the ball.
There. Lovely.
Anyway, it's enough about this. Is not a fashion show.
It definitely is not a fashion show.
It's definitely not a fashion show. This is not a fashion show, and it's not a sort of an antiques road show where people come on and show their sporting memorabilia. This is a tennis betting show, and the number one tennis betting show on YouTube. I'll give you that as well. And we have two tournaments this week: one in Vienna, one in Basel, over in Basel. Whatever way you want to call it. We have over in Switzerland and in Austria, and we're going to look at some matches. To start with, in the tournament in Switzerland, in Basel, it's the 500 event. And the first match we are going to discuss is a rather interesting match because I like this match from a betting perspective. And it's a match between Stricker, one of the local players, a Swiss player. Not many people would have heard of him, but he's a Swiss player. And he's up against Holger Rune. People would have heard of Holger Rune, but has had a great year this year. If you look at the head-to-head between the two of them, they've met once before, but it was a long time ago in a Futures event back in 2020 on clay. So no
and in
relevance
juniors,
now anymore.
I should point out as well.
Your database is better than mine.
Sometimes.
I'm not surprised there. But there's a long time ago. So really, the head-to-head between these two is pretty irrelevant. The betting on this match, though, is a heavy favourite for Holger Rune. He's minus 286. Dominic Stricker is plus 220. The spread is 3.5, and the total is 23.5 here, with under the favourite at minus 129. If you look at the route to this stage, it's the second round. Stricker had a good win over probably a very tired Griekspoor in the opening round, and Holger Rune come through a little bit easier than expected against Nicolas Jarry in the first round as well. So both of them coming into a bit of form. Holger Rune is the favourite. You would expect them to be the favourite, but not probably at the price you would say about that.
Yeah, I think Stricker's got some sort of chance here, depending on how well he serves. Just before we go into this, I mentioned in the show on Sunday the lack of underdog winners that you get in these two tournaments, and I suggested they're probably the worst outside of majors. Again, just 2 of 12 underdog winners in Basel in round one. I think 2 of 12 also in Vienna. So I think I'm right to be a little bit circumspect with my bets here because obviously I tend to go for the plus money shots if I can. Anyway, so that's worked out kind of the same as previous years. I don't know why. It's always this bad in Vienna and Basel. I'm not sure why. I'm open to suggestions as to why. But anyway, Stricker against Rune. Yeah, I mean, Stricker's always a good option for tie breaks, isn't he? Anyone that's seen him play. He's got a lethal left-handed serve. Always a good option for tie breaks. All set one overs. You know, his game is very serve dominated, and this looks likely to be another similar encounter. Clearly, he's very motivated playing here. Stricker, the home player, it's his home tournament, and he should have a lot left in the tank as well, because he missed a lot of this season, a big chunk of this season due to injury. And he's only just really now, in the recent couple of weeks, started to come back to the level that we saw from him, or a lot of people would have seen from him watching this show at the US Open last year, when he played really, really well. Beat Tsitsipas, I think, didn't he, that particular occasion. It should have been a set one tiebreak, him and Griekspoor on Tuesday. But as I mentioned on the show yesterday, Griekspoor donated his serve away in slightly comical fashion in a set that only featured that one single break point. And you would expect something similar here. Stricker won 88% of his first serve points against Griekspoor. And his all-time record in Basel, Stricker, he's now held serve 87% of the time. And if we look at what Holger Rune's done in Basel, he's quite motivated playing here as well. It's not a home tournament. There is no tournament in his homeland, but this is about as close as it gets, really. And he's played very well here in the past. And his stats here, he's held serve 92% of the time in Basel, but he only wins 33% of return points, which isn't enough, consequently leading to a lot of tie breaks. And both these guys, Stricker and Rune, they both break serve only about 14 or 15% of the time. If we look at what Rune did yesterday, Jerry won 86% of his first serve points against Rune. Rune won 89% of his first serve points. As you mentioned, the head-to-head doesn't really exist. It's very old. They played a couple of times in juniors. One win apiece for them at Australian and the US Open, I think, many years ago, and they'd play once in future. It's not really relevant. The angle here is clearly tie breaks or overs. So over 10.5 games, I think it's a decent price here, plus 145 for Bet Rivers. Given these two, their statistics, it's kind of obvious, but that's where I'm going here.
Yeah, what is the tie break in the match? Does it make appeal as well?
It does, yeah. I've just gone for the slightly more conservative option. I think it's about 3.1, I think.
Yeah, I've just got it here. Plus 210 over 12.5 and plus 145 over 10.5. So
you can take your choice.
I can see that logic.
Depends how brave you want to be. I've gone for the slightly more circumspect option, but over 12.5 is equally good and just a slightly more braver version of the same bet, that's all.
And I've just got to share something with you as we start on this show. That there was a flashing on my computer screen. As you know, Sean, I'm not really the best around technical devices, and it's chat, and it's from producer John. And I'm thinking, well,
is this about his Sainsbury's delivery?
It just said he's got to quickly deal with the Sainsbury's man. So I just make sure so that now we're all okay. He's back now, so we're in safe hands.
I'm just relieved that it's arrived.
Has come. Yeah, it's arrived. His shopping has arrived, and John is back and the game. So I was worrying. I was thinking it's going to be a really urgent. You sound all to that. No, but John is very safely. He's saying this has arrived in time. So it's good news for everybody. Okay, let's move on to the second match. Stefanos Tsitsipas up against Botic van der Zandschulp. Two players this season that you really want to be putting your money on. But Tsitsipas is the favourite here at minus 220. Botic van der Zandschulp is 175 spread, 3.5 total, 23.5. Very, very similar prices indeed to the first match we discussed there. Tsitsipas obviously had his problems this year. Van der Zandschulp has had equally as many problems. Tsitsipas has won their previous encounter in Antwerp last year, a 7-5, 6-3. Similar kind of court conditions to this. On the build-up to this match, Van der Zandschulp has been bet. He's had two good wins through qualification, and he played our man Bublik, who we bet to win the tournament, who retired midway through the first set. So Van der Zandschulp is seeing money for this matchup. He's seeing money. So what did you take of it when you saw last year? Was it a match that Tsitsipas deserved to win, or was there any pointers in that match? But I don't think you would expect them to have the season they've had this year to sort of comprehend the two of them.
Yeah, I mean, I remember sitting and watching this match in the dusty halls of Antwerp. I remember it because there's a woman sat next to me stuffing herself with a big old bag of sweets. I was trying to get to a different chair.
What sweets were they? Any nice sweets?
She was just crinkling them. I can't be doing with that. That's why one of the reasons I don't like indoor tennis is because you're stuck in that seat, aren't you? And your seat is your seat. And if you get someone that's just sat there crinkling wrappers every 2 seconds, it can annoy certain people. Maybe not myself.
Not you.
Yeah,
no.
not me, but it could annoy certain people. Anyway, what I remember from the match...
You should suck the boil sweet. You shouldn't be crunchy.
I mean, the wrappers, they're all in them individual wrappers, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
I remember that distinctly. I remember that more than the match, actually. I do remember that Van der Zandschulp started really well. He led 3-1, and then he kind of fell away quite badly, as he tends to do. Both men won about 75% of their first serve points in that opening set. So set one overs is a fair option anyway, with most Tsitsipas matches that are away from clay. You know, he continues to underperform away from that surface, Stefanos Tsitsipas. And yesterday, again, he kind of fell over the line when he played Cerundolo. And he's also fell over the line last week when he played Seyboth Wild. You know, maybe just about deserved to win against Cerundolo. I'm not convinced that he did deserve to win against Seyboth. But again, very close matches. You would expect Seyboth and Cerundolo to be slightly more effective on clay than on hard courts. But Tsitsipas is struggling to beat anybody on hard courts these days. And I've taken a look at his stats over the last 10 matches. It's really poor from Tsitsipas. He's got service points won and return points won total of 97, which is dreadful for a player who's number 11 in the world. I know it's only 10 matches, but this has been going on a while for Tsitsipas on hard courts. He's only won 32% of return points, but a big 74% of first serve points. So it's the same old story with Tsitsipas. His first serve and his general service game's not really a major problem, but the return game it's still a massive issue for him. So 97 total over the last 10 matches. That's actually worse than Van der Zandschulp. Van der Zandschulp is on 98. So he's actually got slightly better stats over the last 10 matches. But looking slightly further into that, you've got... is that Sainsbury's again?
It's Ocado. Hello. I just want to take the order. I was just going to... I'm just recording with Sean. I don't know what... I thought it was off, but it's
clearly
on charge. Sorry, Sean. There you go. I've turned it off now.
It's all right. Van der Zandschulp, he's only won 43% of his second serve points in those 10 matches. So he's kind of less than inspiring as well. He very rarely inspires me, does Van der Zandschulp. He's so erratic, so difficult to call. He's only won, Van der Zandschulp, 3 of his last 13 matches against top 20 opponents. And one of them was at a massive price against Alcaraz at the US Open. And that's a good example of Van der Zandschulp. You know, on his day, if everything's going right for him and he's in the mood, then it's great. But majority of the time, it isn't, and he's very lackluster. So, given that, the other problem is there's only money line and I think spreads on this match so far. I haven't seen any odds for over 10.5 games in set one. That does interest me on the basis that Tsitsipas's return game is still very weak, and Van der Zandschulp is more than capable of winning 75% of his first serve points as he did in their opener in Antwerp. So that would be where I'm going, but I can't put it in because we haven't got any odds.
Yep. No odds yet, but looking when the Bet Rivers website updates over 10.5 on the totals in set number 1 will be the angle of attack here. Remember, the action starts around about 7 o'clock Eastern time in the morning. No order of play yet for Thursday, but the action will start around about 7 o'clock Eastern time. So head across to the Bet Rivers website and then download the app as well. And if you play on the app or on the website, you'll be able to bet live and watch live stream all these matches on your phone or on your tablet or whichever device you want to watch it. There is another tournament. It's the ATP Tour 500 event. It's over in Vienna. And we have 2 matches we are going to discuss here. And the first match it looks like a good matchup, this one. It's Gael Monfils up against Lorenzo Musetti, the number 6 seed this week. Coming to the end of the season, Monfils is not getting any younger, but he's got a chance here to end the season on a high. He's plus 125 to beat the Italian. Minus 157, Musetti, who's had a very, very good year. Spread 1.5, total 23.5. I can imagine really for Musetti, motivation is questionable given how well he's done this year. And you sort of see that by his results. When he got to the final of Zhengdu, he got beat by Zhang, but since then he hasn't really lived up to his top billing. He got beat by Zhang in that final, then he got beat in Beijing in the round of 60 by Yunchi Kata. Yunchi Chieti, whatever his name is. Anyway, and then he got beat in Shanghai by Goffin as well, so a difficult run for him. He's up against Monfils, and the head-to-head record here is in favour of the Italian. It's 2-1 to Musetti. He leads. They met twice this year. They met in the Olympics on clay, which Musetti won very easy in Paris, 6-1, 6-4. They also won in Paris at the French Open, which Musetti won in round 2, 7-5, 6-1, 6-4. So it's definitely been head-to-head that has, in this year, that has favoured Musetti, but it has been on clay, and the only time they met on indoor hard was at this event in 2021, and Monfils got the better of Musetti 7-6, 6-4, so that might rule that out. This one will be a good watch, I think. If you're going to go watch a game today, this will be an entertaining watch.
It would. If you know what court it's on, you can find your way there. I think they've got 3 different venues this year in Vienna.
Is it?
That's what I heard on commentary a little while ago.
The main place only has one court.
Yeah, exactly.
Court,
so
big arena.
Apparently there's 3 venues. That's what I've heard. So depending on where you are in Vienna, you're covered, aren't you? Wherever you are in Vienna, you can pop down and watch a bit of tennis. I was going back to what I said earlier. Just 6 of the last 59 underdogs have won in round 1 of Vienna now, which is 10%. Which is outrageous, really. And the 2 that did win this year was Marcos Giron, who's a tiny, tiny underdog against Mickelson, and Cobolli, who was, again, just a slight underdog, plus 120. So, yeah, it's been a poor time for the underdogs in round 1. But this one, I'm not sure I fancy an upset. I'm not sure I see Monfils winning, but he can certainly make it competitive. He's got a good record here in Vienna, Monfils. He's won 71% of his career matches at this tournament that have been completed. He's retired a couple of times, but completed ones, he's won 71%. And he said yet again after beating Halis that he loves it here. I don't know whether it's the fact that he loves it in Vienna or it's more the fact that he doesn't particularly love it in Paris, which is next week, where he hasn't been past the last 32 since 2010. He tends to, like most of the French men, if not all of them, apart from Tsonga is the obvious one that springs to mind. Most of them don't like the pressure of playing in France. And it could be something to do. That could be one of the reasons why Monfils has gone deep here. He's thinking, well, I'll put my best stuff in here where there's no pressure, and next week I'm not too bothered. I mean, his record on the whole in his career at this tournament: 85% holds a serve, 75% first serve points won, and the service points won and return points won, total of 102. So, allied with the 71% win rate, he has performed very, very well here. As far as Musetti's concerned, he's a work in progress indoors because his stats, they're slightly misleading because his stats are poor on indoor hard. If you just looked at the bare stats, last 12 months on indoor hard at main level, service points won and return points won, total of 98, which would make you think there's a bit of a weakness there considering he's top sort of 16, 17 in the world. But I think it's misleading because he's been a much, much better player this season on the quicker surfaces than any time in the past. So it feels like he's clicked now on the quicker surfaces. Before he was getting a little bit rushed. Doesn't seem to be the case now. So I think we can ignore those stats a little bit. As far as the head-to-head's concerned, no particular shock that Musetti won both meetings on clay. Monfils has said many times how bad he is on clay these days. And he's not wrong. It's too physical for him at this very late stage of his career. As you said, Monfils won when they played here a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, and he won 91% of his first serve points that day. Again, a very different Musetti now to what it was on indoor hard 3 years ago. But I feel like a motivated Monfils and a Musetti that serves well and holds a lot more now, a lot more than he used to on the hard surfaces, the quick surfaces. I feel like this is a candidate for set one overs as well. And the price is quite tempting. I don't normally like to get involved in Monfils matches, but if you're not of that way of thinking, then plus 190 with Bet Rivers, I think, is pretty decent, about over 10.5 in set one. I could certainly see that being a very competitive match.
Yeah, I think it'd be very competitive for set number 1. And I like that play as well. It's common angle really here. Over 10.5 is the sort of the theme of the show. That's been the theme on the show in the last week or so, but that does appear to be the value. I can imagine Monfils wanting to put on the show and probably one of his. Will it be his last tournament here? Vienna, maybe have another.
I don't think he's announced anything yet, but I mean he's 38. When's his birthday? Yeah. He's just had his birthday, so
happy birthday.
Well, not just as in
Oh, right.
Not just as
Well,
in a couple of days ago. It was about a month or so ago.
Well, he might tune in for this one. Monfils over 10.5 games is the bet for set number one. It's been the bet for the 3 matches that we've discussed so far. Remember, this tournament here, no order of play as yet because we're waiting for that to be announced over in Vienna in Austria. But it starts at 8 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow morning on Thursday. So you have a little bit of time. Get up nice and early. Watch the show. Download the betting app on Bet Rivers and place your bet. And be able to watch it as well. Bet live and watch live with Bet Rivers. 29 different markets available on all of these matches. Our final match we are going to discuss for tomorrow on Thursday's action is Alex de Minaur up against Flavio Cobolli. Alex de Minaur is minus 315. Cobolli is plus 240. Spread here is 3.5. Total 22.5. The graphics wrong there because if you can bet both of them, you'll be making a profit. Plus 102 and plus 130. I would guess that the under's minus 130 and the over is plus 102. Cobolli is, I would say, he's one of the most improved players of the year. He's had an unbelievably good year, broken into the top 32 of the world. A player that may be looking at seedings already for the Australian Open. Alex de Minaur on the comeback trail. Lost the first set against Struff, which we cashed on. And then he came back and won. Cobolli had a good win against Davidovich for Kina. And he got beat in Shanghai, but he only got beat by Novak Djokovic. So this again, I mean, given all the injury concerns for de Minaur and coming back a bit rusty, Cobolli probably, like I say, the most improved player of the year, plus 240.
Yeah.
That would interest you in the Italian?
Yeah, there's an interest in some way. 31 in the world now, Cobolli. So he's, as you said, he's looking like getting seeded for the Australian. I'm not convinced about de Minaur at the minute. I mean, he was really bad in that opening set. Happily for me, he was really bad against Struff yesterday. It wasn't like Struff came in and blew him away like Struff can do. That wasn't really the case. I mean, there's so many unforced errors coming from de Minaur, which you don't expect from him. You normally expect him to give you nothing, and you really have to work hard to create opportunities. But he was shockingly bad, and he was poor in Antwerp last week as well. You know, struggled past Calvert Baena in 3 sets, lost to Gaston. I just feel like he's probably not fully over this hip issue. I think he's over it enough to play, but it doesn't. I don't get the vibe from him that he's feeling that comfortable out there. He certainly isn't playing his best tennis. Last couple of sets against Struff, yeah, pretty good. Maybe that's a turning point for him. I don't know. But Cobolli's had a great 3 months or so since the end of the grass season. You know, he's beaten Tommy Paul, he's beaten Felix, he's beaten Shelton on hard courts, took a set off Cash, beat Greek Sport indoors in Davis Cup. But his stats aren't great. It's a bit of a puzzle because his stats aren't very good. He's won 67% of his matches at main level in the last 3 months, which is excellent. But the stats aren't really there. He's only got a service points won and return points won total of 98. So to win that many matches, unless he's had unbelievably good draws, which I really looking at him, I don't believe that he has. I think he's winning a lot of tight matches. I think the tight ones seem to be going in his favour, and hence his win rate is perhaps a lot better than you would expect it to be given his statistics. But his first serve has improved. Come on, leaps and bounds this year. He's won 74.2% of first serve points in the last 3 months. These are all on hard courts, which is more than de Minaur, whose own first serve has also improved a lot this season. But Cobolli's is just a touch better. And he said, Cobolli, after he beat Davidovich for Kina, he said, indoor hard is now one of my favourite conditions. On a court like this that isn't very fast and where the balls bounce up, I feel very comfortable. You see, that was the player that I said yesterday. Somebody had said it was a slow court or not very fast. It was obviously Cobolli. Yeah, different players see it different ways. He thinks it's quite slow. It doesn't look quick when you're watching it, but I think if you serve well and hit your spots, you're gonna win a high percentage of first serve points on any indoor hard court, unless it's really, really slow, which I don't believe this is. Where these two are at right now, I feel like it should be a good test for de Minaur. And the interesting stat here, that perhaps the angle to go at, is that de Minaur has lost his last 4 opening sets in a row now. It's possible, I might be taking this a stretch too far, but it might be that he's starting matches tentatively because he's not quite comfortable in his movement with the hip. It could be that, or it just could be a coincidence, but he's lost the last 4 in a row, and not against particularly strong opposition either. You know, Calvert Baena, Gaston, Struff, so it could be that. So Cobolli, if I was betting in this match, I would probably take a punt on Cobolli winning the opening set at 2.8 plus 182 at Bet Rivers, or maybe the over 22.5 games at slight plus money plus 102. That's what would interest me here.
Yep, plus 102 over 22.5. I quite like that over 22.5. And I wouldn't play the over on the set number one because these are the kind of matches that both these players could win 6-2, 6-3.
With Minaur, I wouldn't do that generally.
Yeah, but I do like the total here at 22.5, and I'm quite surprised that of all the 4 matches we've spoken about, this is the lowest total, 22.5 here. I think that's. I give Cobolli a bit of a chance here. I think 240 is a nice price. Alex de Minaur, I wouldn't bet him at minus 315.
I think this total is just because de Minaur is such a good returner that he often wins sets, 6-2. 6-3, 6-1 occasionally because he's returned so well. I think that's probably why it's a low total. But yeah, I can't. The way that he is at the minute, I just don't feel like he's still. I don't feel like he's the player that he was earlier in the season before this hip issue. As I said, maybe the last 2 sets against Struff, maybe that's him clicking into gear now, and maybe he is fully over it. But not for me at the minute. The way he's been.
Yeah, doubts about the fitness of Alex de Minaur. When you've got doubts about fitness, you don't want to be rushing to take minus 315 against the player that I've said a couple of times already is one of the most improved players on the calendar year. Flavio Cobolli is going to be big things next year. Probably on a slower surface, but he's got some big tournament wins in him and some big shocks. And he met Lagan,
of course, as well.
Yeah, well, that was the turning point.
It could have been, actually, because
that's when it all turns for him.
Weirdly, it is, because if you look at his results, I mentioned the last 3 months. Just have a look here on this. This was...
Yep.
I have to go back a long time. Yeah, so, he lost to Lajovic in Umag, which is where we were. This is where he met myself and Lagan. And since then, he's been brilliant. So maybe it is that. Amazing. Tennis players, take note. I think that's what you need.
I think it is. Don't run for the cover when you see Sean hanging around them bins. There's a reason why you want to be with him. That's it for today. Before we head off, Sean, give us your official place.
I'm just taking the one which is the strongest one, I feel, which is the Stricker Rune overs, over 10.5 in set 1 plus 145. That is a Bet Rivers.
Yeah, so far on the year we're minus 791, but we have 3 outright picks. Is it 3? Yeah, 3 outright picks still remaining in the tournament. They're in action tomorrow. Draper. We have Mensik, who's halved in price from 33 to 1. And we also have Hugo Humbert as well running for us this week. So 3 outright picks still in the last 16. WTA show minus 281, and the football guys are smashing it, almost 27 units up already after 8 weeks of the season so far. And that's it for this week. And next week we'll be previewing the final, the ATP Tour 1000 event of the week in Paris, a big tournament. So myself and Sean will be back on Sunday looking at the outright market and the best bets for round 1. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Betting Weekly Studios, to keep alerts of all the content you're having every day, Monday to Friday. Betting Weekly live with the handicapping team will be there giving you the best bets for that day, as well as the market movers from Bet Rivers. We also have Betting Weekly WTA, myself and Rory, and the football guys. You've just seen there, the soccer guys, 27 units up already over just 8 weeks of the season, and they will be back tomorrow on Betting Weekly Premier League and Betting Weekly Extra Time, looking at the best bets across Europe. As I say, download the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and follow us on our socials, which are at Because We Win. Now, the one thing we can do, we can rest easy now, Sean. We've had a good show in that, and we safely acknowledge that John Sainsbury's has arrived in time, so he can make himself a nice sandwich.
Worried about that.
I was worried. I was very worried. But we come through in the group. The Sainsbury's has arrived, and we can rest easy.
But has he got the right stuff? Now. That's the question.
We don't know. But hopefully he has. Join us again on Sunday. We're looking ahead to the big event in Paris. That's it for this week. Hopefully we catch some tickets. And hopefully when we come Sunday, we've got 2 tournament winners. That'll be very, very nice to end the season with. Take care. Have a good weekend. All the best.